This recording is of the Valentine Gnome class. He is a 9-inch wood surface, okay? And it comes with a base and 2 hearts, okay? That was the kit. So it's the gnome, the hearts, and the base. Okay, and that's what we're going to be working on. All the base coating should be done. For his hat was winter blue. These 2 mushroom heads were cotton candy pink. This mushroom head, the pom-pom, and here's the pom-pom, and his pants were light orchid. Okay, so we're going to start first with the mushrooms. So we're going to use a dry brush and some Snow White. We're going to dry brush the tops of all the mushrooms. Okay, and it's a decent size dry brush. On all of them. I know it's kind of hard to see right with my hands are in the way, but you're going to want to wipe off most of that white paint. Okay. Really blend it. Okay, it's going to show up a little brighter. It's not as bright. It's really bright on this camera. Okay, so you have the purple, the pink, another small pink. I'm going to let this one dry because I got a little bit of a hole, but that's okay. We're going to dry brush right here. Okay. Like I said, that does show up kind of bright, but that's the light's right on it too. Okay. I also want to dry brush a little bit on the stems of the mushrooms. Now, you can also use, you don't have to use your regular dry brushes. Any brush would work as long as it's dry. So I could even use a flat and just kind of brush some white. We just want that to pop up. Okay. All right, now we're going to get out a little bit of frosted plum. And that is what we are going to float the purple mushroom with. And so I'm going to use a 1/2 inch flat. Well, this is a 1/2 inch angle, which is what I prefer. But most, a lot of people like the flats. It doesn't really matter. And I like a 1/2 inch because I want that paint to flow. So I'm also going to actually, okay, wait. I'm going to get a dry or a mop brush out. I like to mop all my floats after I'm done. So as I'm going along, I'm going to, right here on the left side of this mushroom, I'm going to add a float and then I'm going to tap it out, okay? And I'm just going to blend that paint. So right here, across the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tap it out. Okay, so it's just like that. Then on the pink mushrooms, we're gonna use wild berry. And it's gonna be basically the same thing. You take your 1/2 inch flat, and a little bit of the wild berry color. Now I don't want to get this too heavy. But we're just gonna float just like that down the left side. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. And then I'm gonna go down here to the smaller mushroom. Okay. That's a little dark, but that's okay, because I like to take a mop brush and blend out whenever I do a float. This mop brush happens to be, a sharp, and it's a 1/2 inch. It's a decent size. I use it quite a bit. I'm gonna come over here on this large mushroom and I'm gonna float again. Just wasn't quite deep enough. And then I'm just gonna tap that out. Okay. Come across here on the bottom. All right. And then also on the bottom of this one. Okay. Now, I don't think that this is in the instructions, but I want to add a little bit more white, and I'm not going to dry brush, but you can always add. I'm going to turn my piece upside down. And I'm just going to float a little more white. Okay. And I'm going to do it here too. So it just kind of blends the pinks together. Well, I'm going to do it over here also. So then we're going to let those dry because I want to add some hearts to those. Okay. But in the meantime, we already have our white. And I'm going to take a little bit of burlap. These stems were base coated in sandstone. Not sandstone, bleach sand, sorry. But we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of float shading underneath right here on each one. And we're going to let that dry for just a second. Let's see if I can try to come down here, but we want to go down the left, the right side here, and we're going to come down the left side here. Okay. Now, what I also do quite a bit of is reinforce my floats with some asphaltum. So right here, oops, I gotta make this up on my computer. All right, so right here, where I had the burlap, I'm gonna go over it with the asphalt, and I'm gonna go underneath. Okay, just like that. Okay. These also have some stripes. I probably should have put them on before this shading, but it's gonna be fine. Now there's some little, let's see. I'm gonna use a micron brush. It's extra long, it's a detail brush. And the 5-aught. So Snow White, I'm just gonna come down. I just wanna add some detail to the stems. Okay. Also, well, I think we're gonna put in the hearts first. I'm gonna go back, do a little more floating with the asphaltum. So what I'm gonna use is wild berry, and I'm also gonna use a filbert. This is a number 4. And all these are comma strokes that are connected to form a heart. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water to my wild berry. I want it a little bit translucent. Okay. So if I start here, start simple and just do the little one. We're just gonna press down and lift up. Press down and lift up. And there's your heart. It's a little hard to see because it's so shiny right now, but oh, there you go, it's better. All right, so then I just added some some hearts to the mushrooms. Oops, that one really good tail. Just add a couple on each. Now you can use a number 2 filbert and you'll make them a little bit smaller. So I'm just gonna do them like that. I know on the pattern it probably, I think I had 4. They weren't quite that big. So here, you just flatten it out, lift and pull to the point. Okay. If you notice, I didn't even dip my brush back into the paint. Okay, so there you go. You have your little hearts on there. Once those are dry, and that only is going to take a minute because it's they are very, translucent, not a lot of paint. But I'm going to again take just a tad of this asphaltum, and I'm just going to float along the bottom of over the frosted plum. Okay, same thing here. It's going to be over the wild berry. It just adds a little bit of antiquing to your color. Asphaltum does this really well. All right, so those are the mushrooms. Oh, I know. Each has a little bit of a highlight. So you can touch down with some Snow White. You can either use, a little liner or a filbert, doesn't matter. Okay, so after that, you're gonna do dry brushing again on the leaves. Now they're already pretty light, but they're gonna get a little bit lighter. So right here, I'm just gonna dry brush some color into the center of those leaves, okay? Oh, tell on camera. Okay, so right there. Then I'm gonna take some of that white. I'm just gonna streak in on the stems. Okay, and this does look very bright. Okay. But because they're light colors and the background's not real dark either, I really want to make them pop. So it's going to be some layers of color to do that. So for all the leaves, they're all done the same way. And it's going to be with aloe. Okay. So with aloe green, we're going to float the base. Okay, on all of them. If you notice, I don't even have to dip my paint or dip my brush back in the paint. Now I have enough paint on there. Get a nice little float and be able to mop them out. I got one more over here. So add that color. So underneath, on the stems, underneath the leaf itself, I want to add some color. So the stems, they're kind of hard to float, but I'm just kind of adding here and there bits of this aloe, okay, to make them stand out a little bit. And we're going to add some more color to them. Going to be right up here. We need some vein lines. You can either line them in or I personally prefer them to be floated in, but I think most people like to line them with a liner brush. And this is such a neat brush, it's my fun. It's extra long. I'm going to do that. Remember, your leaves do not go all the way to the top. And actually, I like to pull down or pull towards me, I should say. Okay. So we have all the leaves in. You can also, if you want, you can streak in some of this aloe color. Okay. Just like that. Okay, just looking at the picture here to make sure we have it all. We're almost all. Okay. So now we're going to take colonial blue and we are going to float some outlines or we're gonna outline the objects. So with colonial blue, which is the darker blue that I used, let's see if I could find it. Um, hmm. Okay. So with colonial blue, it's deeper than the winter blue. We're gonna also use some asphalt, and you'll see what I'm gonna do with that. Use a 1/2 inch flat angle, whatever you want to use. So really blend this out because you want it to be a soft float. I'm actually going to step right here underneath the pom-pom. I'm going to go right over my leaf there because once I get my mop, I'm going to use a bigger one. And just kind of take that paint right off. Just mop it out, soften it up. You just don't want a hard edge. Okay, I don't want to go over the mushroom top, but I am just going to come a little bit right here on that edge just to deepen it. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. All the way in. Okay. And then I'm just going to take, oops, kind of lost the. Want to get some of that color in there. Now I also want to go ahead and I'm going to go around some of these objects. Okay, meaning the leaves and the mushrooms. Definitely we're going to go underneath the mushrooms right here. Okay. And the studs clean up any edges that got a little messy. I am not, don't paint as well when I'm demoing. I don't think anybody does. Okay, so you see that, you get it there. Underneath here. And here, okay. We're also gonna go down the sides of the stems of the mushrooms. Hard to see until it's dry. Now we don't have to go around every single thing. We don't want to make it look blocky, but we are definitely going to go underneath these leaves. Right here. Let's see, we're going to do it there. And hold on 1 second. Okay, so we're going to go underneath the leaf here. And let's see, I think right here at this base. So now you can see, I'm wondering My camera's not. Okay. It's acting a little funny. It's acting like it's um there it goes. You don't want to break the arm of it. Anyway, it's starting to come together. It's really pretty whimsical looking, but now we're going to go ahead and we are going to add a little bit of asphalt. Okay. And you got to really blend this out. We're going to go across here, just across everything. I'm going to clean all this up. Okay. That glare is not good. I guess seems a little bit better, even though the color may be a little off. You don't get that glare. Okay. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Well, once it dries, it's fine. So just leave that. We added a little bit of asphalt in there. We're gonna actually, let's go underneath and really deepen underneath the tops of those mushrooms. Okay, so here, here. Okay. So that's adding a little bit more depth to them. Definitely want to go right here. And add that. Don't want it to look dirty. Okay. And under the leaves. So like I said, you got to keep some lighter areas in there. So I'm just going to kind of, wherever I went with the colonial blue, I did a little bit more with the asphaltum. Kind of mop them out. I also want to hit right next to, those stems that we have out there. It looks like a shadow. Now, all this area here, there really isn't anything going on. Negative space. I want to add a dry brush with moon yellow. Oh, you know what? We forgot to put vein lines on those leaves, but we'll come back to that. Here's some moon yellow. You want to get a good dry brush. It's not, I think the white one that you already used would be fine. Make sure you wipe it off really good. So it's moon yellow. I'm just going to kind of show where I want. I guess it's kind of makes it just brightens these little spots up. Even in between, okay? We're just gonna add it. After you dip your brush, remember you really gotta wipe it off. I didn't wipe it off. I'm gonna leave it for now. Okay. Go back, add a little more to your dry brush that you already did, and I'll make them pop a little bit more. Whoops, my mouse is in the way. So I'm just finding my spots that I want to add a little sparkle. Okay. And it can be anywhere on here. Down low. Okay. So now I'm going to take my liner brush again. You guys can use, it's your choice with liner. I just happen to, I really like this one. And we're going to add some little X's. And those little X's are going to represent little stars. But I like to do 2 coats when I use, when I line with white. I just don't think one is bright enough, and you'll see a difference. So anywhere I put, oops, that one's a little thick. Anywhere I put some of that yellow, I added an X with the Snow White. Okay, I mean, there's more to do. Put one right here. And one here. Okay, and then instead of using a stylist, I just went in and kind of laid down teeny tiny drop. Now look at that. That really, shines. And I just went in with each X in the center and added a little bit dot with my brush. Okay. Now, some other things that I did on here. You can take your liner and you can just kind of start putting some leaves. I'm on, let's see, some of the leaves you can start doing with some of this white. Because then what I did was I took my filbert again with the white. And I added some very small drop leaves. Okay. You can put them anywhere you want. You can have as little, you don't have to have any. I just like give it a little bit of a softness here and there. They don't all have to connect to anything really. You can just kind of have them floating around. Okay. So I just kind of added them here and there. All right. So then I needed to put in some grass. So what I did is I started with light avocado. Easy enough. You're just gonna add. Now, you can either flip your piece or just with a liner. You just want to add some little blades of grass. Okay, so you want to start with the light avocado. This is gonna be the most that you have, and it's gonna be the darkest, obviously. And we already put that float in of the asphaltum, so we'll go right over them. I'm actually gonna turn it upside down. I think it's a little easier to pull towards you. They're just random. They can cross over. Okay. You go all the way to the edge, edge to edge. Different lengths, different thicknesses. Okay. So we get that white avocado in there. Now we're gonna do the same thing with aloe. But we are not gonna do as many. Now this is gonna make it pop just a little. Okay, so, whoops. You're not gonna, you're gonna, it's almost gonna look like it's dulling it out, but just hold on 1 second. Now I'm gonna add some of this light sage, and the light sage, I mean, it's almost white. It's so light, so it's really gonna make these blades pop up. And you're not gonna use many of that. You can also just do the tips. Just a couple fillers, okay? So now your grass is really gonna show. Okay, just like that. Oops. Then you're gonna take your filbert again. Now, this one, I would probably use it too. Because it's just easier to make them a little bit smaller, but we're gonna make little heart flowers. Now, you don't even have to do them the way I showed you before. You can just kind of drop them in there, okay? Just using the edge of your brush of that filbert. Okay, and you don't have to have them all at the top. You can do some right here down at the bottom. They can be very translucent, right? You just want to get some color, a little bit of those hearts in there, okay? Now, the band on his hat is burlap, okay? I need to float some asphaltum across the bottom. Do you know what I want to do first? I want to show you. This got a little bit messy, because that's what happens. Okay. I want to clean up that burlap a little bit. So I'm just gonna go right here, cover it up, kind of just straighten out your lines. From where you messed up on your last, where I did my float. I got a little bit messy. So, all right, I've straightened it out to where I like it. Now, I want to, actually, I'm gonna try this for a quick second. I don't want to mess up everything I just fixed. So now we're going to take some of that asphaltum Remember, we're using this lightly on everything that we're doing on this piece. We'll just go. Like that, we're gonna float. Now, I do want to mop this out. And soften it a little bit. All right. So now we have this headband, but I want to get my checks on there. So I'm going to dry this for just a second. Okay, so now we're going to take Snow White and a flat. This is a number 8 flat. Take your Snow White. So your checks, I did mine a little more opaque, but you can very easily get away with just streaking them in too. You don't, I like it when they show through some of that brown. Okay. So you just get all your checks in, whatever way you prefer that they look. Okay. Just like that. Oh, you know what? I don't have my nose on. Shoot. And you know, I don't think I had one. Well, I had one beige. I don't know what I did with that. But I'm gonna just put this in with toffee. It will work. So let me just throw my nose on there really quick. Okay. I'm just gonna, not gonna make them too big. You know, these gnomes all have large noses. That's kind of hard to see, but that's all right. It'll still work. Because we're gonna float color on there. I will make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so there's his nose. All right, we're gonna let that dry, and in the meantime, we're gonna do some dry brushing again because this is, he doesn't have a taupe colored beard or a bleached sand beard. He has more of a white beard. So you're gonna take your dry brush, wipe it off really good. This is pretty not that brushy. Use that one. Pink in it. Oh, okay, so now we're gonna take some white paint. Just start off kind of soft. Okay. It's gonna be hard for you to see. But we're just gonna dry brush all over on his beard. See, no, I think you can kind of see it. Well, it's pretty much until we get the shading on there. I think it's going to be really difficult to see that. So we're just going to dry brush all over the beard. Go ahead and get close to the edges. Okay. But I see, you can see the difference now. It's more white for sure. Now we're going to take a little bit of the asphaltum. And we're going to float. Okay. So now you really have to blend this out because it's going underneath the hat. across his forehead. And we're just gonna go right here. I'm gonna stop. And definitely, you wanna pat all this out. You can always go back and touch up his nose or, any of those parts. Just important to get those floats on nice. Okay. So there's another float. Just like that. And then we're gonna come around the edges on his beard. Just like that. That's a little too heavy. Then you brush it back, you tap it back. Then you can go back and add some more white dry brushing. Okay. So we're just gonna come down here where we added some of those some more of the beard. Okay. Just like that. I'm gonna come up this side. So I'm kind of rushing through this part, so I want to show you how neat this beard's gonna look. Because you're gonna have more white on there. Really rub it off. Go right and blend it into your floats. Okay. And you're gonna tell now that this is a white beard, but if I'm being honest, I prefer to paint over bleach sand or paint bleach sand as my background rather than snow or rather than warm white or something like that. It just covers better for me and it just looks a little less flawed. So, all right, now we got to paint around his nose. So we're going to do just a tad of the asphaltum. But then we also have to float on his nose too. So it's going to look a little bit funny. I'm going to go really light. I can make his nose stand out a little more when I float it or shade it. Oops, so look at that. That's the perfect example of getting a little too heavy, not blending the asphaltum out enough. But I'm going to go with it because it's an example. Okay. Now I want to mop it out. Got to be careful. You don't want to wipe it off. All right. So there he is. I'm going to put a float across the top of his nose with Snow White. That's all right, we should be able to see it. So there's his nose there. I'm also going to use a little bit of raw sienna. Wow. Shoot, maybe not. Oh. So we are going to float the bottom of his nose. Okay. This is light. Okay, then I'm gonna mop it out a little bit. Okay. Now, this little gnome also has eyes. Now, his eyes, when I did it originally, it was fine. But I think actually to have it in a step for instructions, this way it's going to be easier. I think in the directions I put down, you should float. But his little eyes are going to be just like that. There's one. And here's the other one. Now, what we can do is now that we have the lines in, we can make it look more of how I designed it. It's just adding that line just was a little easier to float against. These little floats are down. Okay. So I just want to add just a little float here. Okay. And then for the mouth, which is the same thing. You can do like a line of asphaltum and add a little raw sienna. Okay, just like that. Okay, we're gonna jump down to his pants, and those are done in orchid. So just like you do a pumpkin, when you float and highlight the sections of the pumpkin, the same thing on his pants. Boy, I'm running out of spots to. All right, so then our pants. We're gonna walk our way out though on both sides. The Snow White. Okay. You know what? While we're down here, we're gonna go ahead and just dry brush his shoes. Okay. Now, for his pants, it's Frosted Plum that we are going to float shade. If I can find it. Frosted Plum, I had it out here when we first started, I thought. I used it because I used it when we, well, I'm gonna have to use, I won't be able to refresh because either it's getting late or I'm just getting something. I can't find that color. Probably staring at me in the face, so. But we're gonna take Frosted Plum. and float the section right there. Okay. Now you want to make sure kind of a curve. Okay. Let's do one more here. Mark the palette. Okay, then we're gonna flip the piece. Okay, here we go. Obviously, it's up to you if you wanna add the line drawings or wing it. If you wing it a lot, you get better each time. So I know it looks like he has a pumpkin body, but he doesn't. Okay, shoes. Oh, I'm sorry. Carried away here. I like this highlighting this section too. Okay. That way it just seems a little more finished. Plus, we're going to be putting a little heart over it. Okay. Take some asphaltum. We're going to float the bottom of his shoes. These are not going to show once you put him in his little base, but if you decide not to, you want to make cute shoes. All right, so now you're going to take some Snow White. Oh, I am so sorry. I said that totally wrong. Actually, I do want to do a little more now. I'm going to do a large C stroke. And hold your brush down and pull and twist, just like that. And then you're going to do the other side, and you're going to, I'm going to turn and twist. Okay, so now we got those two. All right, so we're going to add a little star. And I think I would have made these a little more even, but that's okay. I want to add a little star on the tip, okay? Right there. And right here. I shouldn't say star, it's a little X. Okay. Now I know he has hands. So what I did was, depending where you're going to put this heart, all right? If you're going to put the heart here, you just want to draw so it looks like those little hands are holding the heart. Okay, they don't have to be perfectly, in place, or even rather. All right. And those are going to be done the same way as the nose. Okay. Just have to go back in. Oops. And like that. Okay. And that's it for him. So you're going to do the hands and then put the heart. You can glue the heart on. So the heart, both hearts, this blue one had a little bit of dry brushing on it. This. We're going to do a little dry brushing with that blue. We're going to do it in white. Nope. All right. We're going to dry brush in white. Okay. Then we're going to float in colonial. Oh. Let's see, we're just going to float this way. And, oops, wrong color, green. Then we're going to float right here. I know I'm kind of messing it up, but it's going to be around the entire heart. Okay. Is floated with colonial blue. So let me dry brush or dry it off a little bit. Okay. And then the lettering for this, Be Mine, is also in the colonial blue. And that can be traced on if you'd like. You can put it on with a pencil and then just go over it. I'm going to show you with mine. I'm just going to write it in. So it's going to say, Be Mine. However you want it. You can use the trace, the line drawing if you want. All right, so I have my lettering in there. And then I'm going to put it in like this. Now the lettering is not all done in one stroke. Whoops, that didn't turn out well. Okay, so once you get that in, the Be Mine, then you can go back and straighten out your letters. If you want to do this with a marker, you know, an IdentoPen, something that's not going to run. I just added some of these little markings on my letters too. Okay. And I did the same thing with the green heart. There was no dry brushing, but I floated around the edge with light olive or light avocado. And just like that around the whole thing. Put the lettering on. I'm just going to write it in and pretend that it's paint. So it says, let's see, I think I whoops. Okay, so you're going to have your writing on there. Mine kind of came off because it's wet. And then I just did some of the little leaves again, like we did on the gnome. So you can just kind of do a little vine in there and add some leaves. When it's all done. Oh, these also had white checks on the outside edge, which I don't have mine painted yet, but if just use a little, you don't want a big brush, but you just want to just add some white checks like that on there, okay? And all that does is it finishes it on. Oh, I know. The pom-pom. Okay. Grab this little guy again. And the pom-pom is also dry brushed in the center with some Snow White. I don't think I have an available dry brush. Well, I'll just kind of see if I can make it work. We're going to add some white to the center like that, the dry brush. Then we're going to take frosted plum and a liner. And we're just going to add some cross hatching. And all just like that. And then come this way. Okay, just like that. So you got your line work in. Do a quick dry. We're going to do a float across the bottom. Okay, so it's going to be right here. We're going to float that in there, pop it out. Okay. Then with a stylus, then with a stylus, you're going to add a little bit of dip dots. Okay. Now, I know we haven't talked about the base, but the base is painted in the winter blue with some white checks. On the top, I did add some of those little white leaves like we did and some little bit of hearts. You can see it in the picture. Okay. Let those dry, then you're going to put a string or a ribbon or a wire through the two little holes. And your heart will be hanging from up there. Then your little blue heart, glue them on. Honestly, you don't have to use a hot glue gun. A glue stick, a crafter's glue stick works really good because they're not heavy. So it's just going to sit there. Sometimes the glue gun, I like glue guns, but then sometimes they just pop off whatever you're trying to glue on. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the class. And we'll see you next time.